Hi everyone, welcome to lucky number 13 of the Frogger mini-series, and in this video we'll be creating the floating logs that the player will have to jump on to get across the river. Let's not waste any time and just jump right into it. Alright, last we left off we set up the vehicles, which they're looking pretty good. On that note, I did forget in the last video, but let's go ahead and organize our items here. So we'll select the first vehicle, which is the Cadillac. Then we can shift select last vehicle, so we have this grouping. Then you hit this little folder icon, and then maybe we can drop it in a folder called vehicles, and that way we keep everything nice and organized. Alright, but let's open our content drawer. We'll go into the art folder, and let's right click, create a new folder. We'll call this one the log. And we're gonna import a static mesh here. Be this one here. I'll make this available on Gumroad. Actually, it will only be available on Gumroad, but you can use any static mesh, of course. We do have some textures. So I'm going to select the textures, drag those in first, and then the static mesh last. It'll go through the import wizard. The only thing you need to worry about the import wizard is just select static mesh, go down to build, and just make sure nanite is turned off. So we'll hit import. And let's go ahead and right click on the albedo or color. We'll create a quick material, call m_log. Double click to open that up. And then we want to add in our normal and mix map. Let's bump out the color over here. And the normal goes into the normal. And our mix map, as the name implies, contains multiple texture maps. The red channel has the ambient occlusion. The green channel has the roughness, and the blue channel has the metallic. So we'll go ahead and build that out and save it. With that saved, we can double click on the static mesh, and now we can actually assign the material. So we called it m_log. We'll select that there, and there's our log material. Real quick, we'll make sure we can see the simple collision. This is how the Frogger is going to stand on top of the log, so make sure your collision looks like mine. So we'll go ahead and save. Let's open our content drawer, go to our blueprints folder, and just like we did with the vehicles, we will right click on the BP moving objects parent. We'll create a child blueprint class, and we'll just call this the BP_log. We'll double click to open that up. We will open up our content drawer, and under the art folder, we'll select the log. And with this log selected, we will add it in the components tree and select static mesh. It'll automatically know that you're referencing the log, which makes it easier to set this up. And that looks pretty good there. Now for the box collider, we don't really need it, so we're not going to scale it. We'll just leave it kind of inside. We're not really going to be using it for anything on this thing. Last thing we'll want to do is under the BP log, there's the preview mesh. We'll want to use the same static mesh so we get a preview of it when we add it to the world. So with that created, we'll save it, head back to the main menu. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our player start. So let's minimize this and find our player start, this one right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this closer to the water so we don't have to cross the road. Just make it a little bit easier on ourselves here. So right there, perfect. So now we play the game, we can quickly just get to the water, which is great. Now remember, when we interact with the water, the frog's going to, well, I guess, drown and die. That'll be a death state. So we want the player to be able to hop across and time jumps across the logs and whatnot. I think right now the leap is maybe a little bit too small. So if we time that out, that's what, 2, 3, so maybe about 6. I think maybe only 4 is probably needed. So we need to make the leap a little bit longer. So we can do that real quick. We can just come into our player blueprint. I believe we have a leap distance variable. We can maybe try something like 450. And that under our leap code will basically multiply against our right vector. So we can basically adjust that launch character feel, basically. So now when we come in the water, we should get thrown out a little bit further. So now, instead of 6, 2, 3, and then 4 gets us to the edge, which is about right if I remember from the classic game. So you'll need to make 4 time jumps before you can actually hit the end zone there. So that looks good. So let's go ahead and add in our log. So we'll move this details panel up so we can see what we're doing. Now I think the log should probably go down to maybe -50. You need it somewhat up in the air or above the water, because the water is going to be like the death state. So we'll maybe put like a trigger box, or we'll figure that out a little bit later. But we need the player to be able to land above water so it doesn't trigger the death state by accident. So right now it's probably too close to the edge. Let's try 7450. I think I found some numbers that worked already. So if we come over here, come to the edge of the water, and then do our leap, that looks pretty good. So the numbers I found that worked are a difference of 930 units. So to make things easier, we can simply hold the Alt key in the Y direction to duplicate the mesh. And then on the duplicated one, we can come to the X axis here, because we can see the little red arrow. That's that direction. And we can simply add 930 units, or plus 930. And that'll bump it out, hopefully with the appropriate distance. So if I come to the edge of the water, and then I hop, and then I hop again, we're trying to get the log basically kind of center, which looks like that's working. And if I step off the log, that'll be the death event. So we can do the same thing. We'll just hold the Alt key, drag off. That duplicates it. Then we can take our X-axis, add 930, and then we'll hold the Alt key, drag again, and then just add 930. And now we have 4 logs. We can double check our work here to make sure the frog can make it across with the jumps. And it looks like that is good. And the last jump will actually be the victory one. So now we just need to get the actual movement. Now, starting off, we'll do 4 logs, but I think in the final product, we'll maybe have 2 logs and 2 turtles. I think in the original there was a crocodile too, but I think this series is already getting long enough. So we'll just do logs and turtles, and we'll do 2 of each. So we'll maybe go log, turtle, and the turtles will do something fun where they'll go underwater randomly. So it'll add a little bit of randomness to it. But all right, so let's go ahead and shift select these, and we will bump these out over here. And I really only want to maybe just go kind of to the edge here. I think that'll be fine. And then just like we did with the cars, we'll select one, and we're going to set the behavior type. This is going to be loop reset. The duration, I think the default will do 30. And then we will add 3 control points, but we'll do 2 starting off. And then we're moving in the Y direction on this one. So what we're going to do is we will send this all the way down to the other side. And we're going to come right about here, I think, will be kind of the final part for the log. And we'll come maybe a little bit further, maybe right about there. What we'll do is when it hits this point, the log will have it go underwater so the player doesn't get carried out to the ocean. So it'll basically just be like a death state. So if the player stayed on the log too long, they'll basically die no matter what. So now that we have that, we can hit the plus sign on the control point. So we add a 3rd control point, and then we're going to move this log over here, and then we can click it and just kind of drag it off. And I think right there is actually probably good. And we just kind of want to bring it under the surface from here, so it'll basically just go down, which will trigger the death state for the player. All right, and this one log is pretty good. I probably should have done that for all of them because I just made this a little bit harder for ourselves, but that's all right. Because now I can just Alt select and drag a couple of these out. And then we have some randomness there. And then for this one, trying to contemplate whether, yeah, I'll just do it on all. That's fine. Just be a little bit of a, take a little bit of a while, but that's all right. Behavior type, we'll do loop reset. This one we'll make a little bit faster. We'll do maybe 25 seconds. We'll do 2 elements, and then we'll bump this out so we can grab it. Click in the little control point, and then just grab the Y arrow, drag it out over there. And we'll do kind of the same area, maybe right about here. And then we will add another control point. Negative 1400. Whoops. Maybe right somewhere around there. I don't see it. Where is it? Wait, is that it right there? Why is that not moving? Oh, is it 14,000 or 1,400? All right, anyways, move this over here. And then we'll just plop it down. All right, and that completes this one, so we can basically just grab it, hold Alt, I'll drag off. Maybe one over there and one over there. And then this one, we'll switch it from one shot to loop reset. We'll do 28 seconds maybe. We'll add 2 elements starting off. Drag that over. Send it down there. And then we'll add another one. And we'll send this right here. And send it on its way. Alright, so that looks good. You always got to put the last one further in and underneath the water so it basically dips and will trigger a death state for the player. Alright, and then this one's good, so now we can just basically duplicate these. So maybe we'll only do 2 for that one maybe. And last but not least, and we will be switching some of these over to turtles, so don't spend too much time on this. This one will be pretty quick. I think we'll do 20 seconds. Add 2 elements. Kick that off a bit so we can grab it. Send it downtown. And then we'll add another element. Kick that out. Allows us to grab it and send it down over there. And we're just gonna push that underwater. And this one's gonna go right here. Maybe a little bit further, maybe right there. All right, let me slow my camera down a bit. There we go. All right, and we'll just duplicate this. I'll do another 3. Okay, so now we can kind of see how this looks. First one should hopefully be slow enough. I don't remember if 30 seconds was right. I think it was. Let me see the logs coming through. See if I time my jump right. That looks good. And then you should be able to hop between the logs as well, if I remember from the classic game. And you can see that would have killed me because it went underwater. So that'll be, some of them will go earlier than others because they're further back on the loop reset. That's okay. I think that'll be desired behavior, but you can tweak that however you want. And you can see when they respawn here, they're looking pretty good. I think this one we'll probably replace with turtles anyway, so it won't be a big deal. And that one probably needs to be closer. Oh, that one needs to be faster because you can't really catch up to it. That's funny. This one will replace with a turtle though, so it won't be a big deal. All right, so we now have some logs moving through, but our player isn't going underneath the water. And I think it would be better, we could do it a few different ways. You can have it like when the frog hits the water, we'll hide the mesh and play a Niagara effect. But what we could do is just have the player go underneath the water and then play the same Niagara effect as well. Like a splash or something. So to be able to do that, we need some custom collision, because right now the water body is a world static item, which by default blocks. That's most of your landscape and a lot of things. So what we can do is come to the project settings, and under collision we can add a preset and an object channel. There's a few different ways we can tackle this, but I think the easiest way is we'll just add a new object channel that we'll maybe just call water, and we'll set the default response to use overlap, and then we'll add 2 presets. One preset we can say is the river, and then the object type we'll set to be water, and then we want it to overlap everything, and then we can just say water body. And then for collision, we'll probably do query only, no physics collision. I think you'll want to use query or anything that I think no collision will cause an issue with the water plugin. So I think you'll need, at the bare minimum, query. So we'll hit accept on that, and then we'll do another one for the ocean. And then again, the object type, that's going to be a water type, and we'll just say this is another water body, because maybe you want different behavior when the player enters the ocean versus the river. It's easy enough to do, but once you have that, we can save all. And then what makes this nice is you don't have to go in the player object and modify collision, because you see it automatically puts it into overlap. And you won't have to do that on every, physics capable item on your character, which could be the character mesh as well as the capsule component, which could be a little bit tedious depending on your setup and project you're working in. Instead, we can just, highlight the river object, and then instead of it being a custom preset, we can tell it is the river. It'll automatically assign that, which is great. I think it's still not going to work though, because it is a child of the ocean plugin, which you can see I'm still standing on top of it. So what you'll need to do is select the water body ocean, and under physics we find the collision settings, and that is also set to a custom preset, so we'll set that to be ocean, or if you wanted to just have one and do river, you can do that as well. And I think with that being set to both overlap, that means the parent and the child, so they won't have any inheritance issues. The character component can actually go underneath the water, like so. And I think that'll be good, because we'll just have the player mesh. Because what we're going to do is we're going to spawn a different player mesh anyways. When the player hits the water and dies, we'll play the Niagara effect, hide the static mesh, and then we'll pan out to a secondary camera we'll set up, and we'll spawn in a new player at the beginning of the map, have them possess it, and then kind of go from there. But I think for now we'll probably cut this here, but in the next one we'll set up the turtles that the player will use to cross the river. As always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.